Mm. Let's talk Zillow. Just needed to connect it to Facebook first because, Facebook changed all of these things and now third-party apps can't go into it. But let's talk Zillow specifically and the new thing that they just added. If you missed it, I've got it for you. It's right here, right in front of my computer. Here are the headlines. Now, at first glance, because I took a look at this a few times already, and by the third time, I was like, wait a second. At first, I thought it looked really great. And here is the headline for you. Let me bring it back there. There we go. Zillow offering 7-day touring agreement for agents. And at first glance, I thought, oh, nice. Zillow is actually thinking ahead, which, by the way, they always are. And I thought, wait, let's read a little bit more because there are some things to it. This is from Real Estate News. I want to share with you their blog article earlier today in the morning. And I highlighted some things because as I started reading it, I'm thinking, okay, there's more to this because just read the yellow section. The proposed NAR settlement outlines the requirement that buyers have written agreements with agents before touring. While this may seem like an extra step, when done right, agreements can provide transparency, promote open conversation, and foster alignment. All this good stuff. And I agree. And if we take a look at the NAR settlement, in fact, here it is right here. Part of the proposed settlement says written agreement for MLS participants acting for buyers. While NAR has been advocating for the use of written agreements for years, in this settlement, we have agreed to require MLS participants working with buyers to enter into written agreements with their buyers before touring a home. And so that change is going to come into effect July 2024. Let's keep reading here. Same thing. They're just getting creative, and they thought, well, that's why Zillow created a non-exclusive touring agreement. And we're making it available for use to the entire residential real estate industry. And I have it here for you too. We'll go over that. But first I thought, here's my second thought. I'm like, oh, it's kind of what we already have now, minus those states that require you to have a buyer broker agreement. So I was thinking, wait, that means that Zillow, and let me stop sharing really quick. Let me go back there. Well, let me not stop sharing. But Zillow is looking out for themselves. If you think of the process, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Zillow. You think of the process of a lead coming through. They're going through to a website, Zillow, Realtor.com, wherever. And the first thing they want is property. They want to take a look at property. And I thought, here's the third glance that I had. I thought this was a great opportunity for the real estate industry to treat it more like a career, like a profession, and take this opportunity to help out the consumer, to sit down with them, explain to them what it is that we have to offer. And it's like, I know we hear it all out, but like attorneys where we sit down and we go through this process, hey, this is the charge, this is the cost, right? And then at that point decide, hey, do we want to do a non-exclusive agreement for 3-4 days, see how it is, see how we fit. But what this is doing, this is changing the tables a little bit. And I thought, interesting, Zillow is just really concerned about not the consumer primarily, but themselves because of the way they get the leads. They know that people just want to see property as soon as possible. And their job, here's the secret, their job is to create the least amount of friction, even if it's good, bad, whatever, the least amount of friction from point A, inquiry about a property, to point B, getting them into the property. And of course, they're going to do this. And now, will this stand? I don't know, but let's keep reading here because I've got something. Buyer agreement typically outlines exactly what an agent will do for a client, however, requiring a long-term exclusive agreement with a single professional before the home buyer has an opportunity to meet with multiple agents or sufficient time to decide to work with this agent negatively impacts the consumer experience. Does it really, though? I'm up in the air on that one. I'm up in the air. I'm thinking, wait a second. The consumer just wants to see the property, and that just makes us door openers. What about helping them and teaming them up with an agent from the very beginning, because we're teaching agents what to do better? This is why we have all of these challenges in the first place, because we're doing exactly what's on this document already. So, to put it simply, most people want to date before becoming exclusive. Now, there was a funny comment in Lab Code Agents, that the Facebook group for 165 real estate agents, it says, "Date the agent, marry the house." I thought that was hilarious, which is a play on the other, date the rate, which is stupid. What our touring agreement does. Here's what the touring agreement does, and then we'll go into to show you the details. Our touring agreement, which expires after 7 days and covers touring activities only, does not require compensation or exclusivity, and it doesn't. Now, I'll show it to you, but first, I want to read the bottom portion of this here for you. And it says the requirement, and let me highlight this there. The requirement to have an agreement in place prior to touring a home will be new for most consumers and agents. Well, in some states, remember, it's already there. It's already required. In fact, they need to be working with them fully, like a buyer agent or buyer broker agreement. As we move forward, it's important to remain focused on who the real estate industry serves: buyers and sellers. We've long championed a more fair and transparent marketplace. In this moment of evolution, we're extending an invitation to join us, putting the consumer first. Obviously, you can't believe that at face value. It's a company. It's a publicly traded company. Their number one thing that they worry about every day is to just make as much money as possible to give back to those people that own the stock, the board, everybody, right? And that's the number one goal, is to make money. And the fastest way of doing this through this new agreement is saying, well, let's get this client to the house with the least amount of friction. And this does it. But it doesn't take into consideration that we want to elevate this industry. We want to make it grow and say, hey, agents, let's treat this differently. This is an opportunity to change and give the consumer exactly what they need, and that's better service, better agents, not this crappy document that we're getting. Let's read this. There are 5 pieces to this. Purpose of the agreement, the sole purpose of this agreement is for broker to consult with buyer regarding specific properties, assist buyers in locating and touring properties. These activities collectively constitute the touring service. So with this, you can also see that Zillow is playing their hand and saying to all real estate agents, hey, you're just door openers. That's what you really are. And if the client chooses to increase or change that relationship from just door opener to actually working with you, then that's going to require a different agreement. B, in connection with providing the touring service, hey, door openers, if you want to take it a little further here, brokers shall adhere to any and all non-waivable duties required under applicable state law for real estate brokers working with consumers in a non-agency capacity. Look, I don't even know if this is going to stand, but at least you've got to give it to Zillow for putting something together before anybody else, which is kind of cool. Buyer and broker agree that they are not entering into an agency relationship. And buyer is not a client. Now, if we go back again to the NAR settlement and we read this little section, it's really unclear as to what NAR wanted with this. So Zillow took it and said, got it, we'll create something. And that's what they just did. Number 2, buyer acknowledgement. Let me make sure you're seeing it on your screen. There it is. Yep. Buyer represents that buyer has not signed an exclusive buyer brokerage agreement for the location currently in force with another broker. Okay. 3, duration agreement. I mean, I don't know why they couldn't make it just a day or per property. You can really do whatever you want right now, right? It's a Wild West. We don't have the specifics to what we can or can't do according to NAR yet, and I think it's going to go state by state. Duration agreement. This agreement is entered on, and then it just gives you the time. Number 4, no fee for the touring service. Oh, wait a second. You're telling me that all real estate agents are just door openers and we don't get paid on top of that? Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. This is where I'm showing you that Zillow is playing their hand. This is exactly what Zillow thinks of us. Now, like them or not, and I think they have great leads, by the way, and they have a great ecosystem, but they want to get the client to the home with the least amount of friction, which makes you and me a door opener. Remember that. Now, let's keep reading. B right here on 4. It says, if broker is going to provide buyer with a brokerage service beyond the touring service, this is the section where an actual agreement then takes place. I'm like, oh, okay, great. And then it says the fee or commission the parties agree to for those services are not set by law, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then number 5, equal opportunity. You can read that one. I'll put the link to this one. But for me, I want you to pay attention to, this is the first one that we see of many to come from the state. And we have to see what NAR thinks of it and what type of documents we start seeing. I think this works for some states, obviously the states that don't require it to go further immediately. But I also think that this is our opportunity to go in and say, hey, buyers, this is how it actually works, right? Come to my office or meet with me. Let me go through with you what exactly it is that we offer. Because if we go back to the old way, this is exactly the old way. If we go back to that, we're in the exact same spot. Clients are just going to use us and be like, oh, agents, they don't do anything. I don't know why they get paid what they get paid. It just doesn't make sense. And then we end up in the exact same spot that we were before. So use this as an opportunity to build a career, to build a profession. And if you can, don't use a document like this, please. Use a document that allows you to build a relationship, not just to open doors. See you later.